Hi everyone, welcome back. I am Juliana and today I'm going to show you how to use a very simple and powerful function in Power BI, Networkdays. Well, some of you may think that this function is only available in Excel, but since about 2022, it has also been available in Power BI. And it is very useful for whatever project we need to calculate the number of working days between two dates, which is very common, especially in supply chain dashboards or HR, project planning, you name it. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to use this function. But before we jump into Power BI, let's have a look here at the Microsoft Learn page about this function. So we have here the page, Networkdays. This is the syntax. So we call the function, and then we need to add the start date, the end date, the weekend, and the holidays. If you scroll down here, we have the parameters. And for the weekend, we have to select one of these options. So if your weekend is Saturday and Sunday, you should select number one, or you don't need to add anything because that will be the default. Otherwise, you have to see which number you have to use on your syntax. And for the holidays, we need a column table of one or more dates that are to be excluded from your working calendar. So that means your table should have only one column, or if it has more, you have to select that specific column. And I'm going to show you in Power BI a couple of examples of how we can use it, and you're going to see how simple it is. Let's have a look. So let me show you first my data sample. I have this table with the activity code, start date and end date. And I also have one table with a single column with all the bank holidays. And I'm going to show you another scenario that I'm going to use another table with bank holidays that has got 3 columns instead. So if I go here to my activities date, I do not want to create a calculated column. In this occasion, I will create a measure. So let's go back to the report view. And I have already added one measure that calculates the time between the start and the end date by using the function dateDiff. So it will include all the days in between, including bank holidays and weekends. Let's now add our first measure. Let's call it Networkdays. And I will use the function, and then I'm going to try to add my activity start date. And Power BI does not allow us to add the field straight away. And that's because when we use Networkdays in a measure, we are not working row by row like on a calculated column. Instead, we work in a filter context, which depends on what the user is looking at in a visual. So to overcome that, we can use the function SELECTEDVALUE, which helps the measure to understand which specific date to use when the user is looking at a particular row. So let's do that. Let's delete these. And to make things a bit simpler, let's create variables. So my first variable will be my start date. So I will use the selected value. And I'm going to select my start date. And I'm going to create another variable for the end date. So I'm just going to copy and paste and replace start by end. And I'm going to create my third variable with my result, which will be the calculation of the network days between the start date, the end date, and I don't need to add my third parameter because I am considering Saturday and Sunday. And this first calculation is just to remove the weekends. And then let's now return the result. Now let's add the new measure to our table. And you can see here now you have different values because, of course, we are excluding the weekends. But for this activity code here that we have a start date and no end date, it has calculated these values. We absolutely don't want our users to see because they will think that there is something seriously wrong with the report. But not to worry, it's not difficult to remove that value. So if I go back here to my original measure, and I'm going to wrap my result with an if statement. So if my end date is not blank, then I'm going to create the network days. And if it is, to return blank. So let's do that. I'm going to add here the if not is blank. And I'm going to add my end date. Then return the network days. Else, I want to return blank. Close the bracket. And just like magic, we don't have that number anymore to bother us. But now let's say that I don't want blank neither. I wanted to return the elapsed time between the start date and the reporting date, cutoff date, or whatever between today. So again, that's simple. We just have to create a new variable. So I'm going to create a new measure, which has got the same as the previous one, but I'm going to add a new variable. My new variable will be my reporting date. And just to make things simple, I'm going to just call it today's date. And now, in our result statement, we're going to say that if it's not blank, should do the network days between the start and the end date. And we don't want blank anymore. We want to add another network day calculation. So I'm going to copy and paste. The difference is, if the end date is blank, I'm going to use my start date and the reporting date instead of the end date. And then let's call it number 2. And let's add to our table. There we go. So all the other values are the same as expected. And for the activity code that has got a start date, but doesn't have an end date, now I have number 16, which is the number of days between the 7th of October and the date of today that I'm recording this video, which is the 28th of October, excluding all the weekends. Done. But it's not all you can do, right? I mentioned that we can remove bank holidays as well, and that's what we're going to do next. So for this first example, I'm going to use my table bank holidays that has got only one column. So let's copy this measure here, and let's create a new one. Let's just rename to number 3. And what I have to do now, I have to add my 3rd and my 4th parameter on both network days calculation that I have. My 3rd parameter will be the weekend, which is number 1, because I'm using Saturday and Sunday as weekend. And my 4th parameter will be my column that has got my bank holidays. And I'm going to do the same for the network days between the start and the current reporting date. There we go. And then if I return, I'm going to add the measure to our table. And you're going to see here that we have different values because now it's excluding the weekends as well as the bank holiday. But this is the easy way when we have a bank holiday table with only one column. But I have an example that if you have something like this, so your table has got actually more than one column. I have here one column with the date, another with the day of the week, and the holiday name. How would that work? So first, let me show you what happens if you just try to use it straight away. So I'm going to create a new measure. I'm going to call it Network Days 4. And I'm going to replace Bank Holidays for Bank Holidays 2, which is my second table. Let's commit. Now let's drag the measure to the table to see what happens. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because the table has got 3 columns and Power BI does not know which one to use. But not to worry again, that can be fixed very easily. So let's add another variable. And this variable will be my holiday. And what I'm doing here, I'm using the function SELECTCOLUMNS to select the column date from the table Bank Holidays 2. And then if you go now to the network days statement on the 4th parameter, we're going to add these new variables, which is holidays. So for both. And now you can see that works. And it returns the same value as the previous measure because we are using the same start date, the same end date, and the same bank holidays. The only difference is that for Network Days 4, which is the latest measure we created, it is pulling the bank holidays from a table that has contained more than one column. And the Network Days 3 actually pulled the bank holidays from a table with only one column. As you can see, the function Networkdays is very simple to use and can save us a lot of hassle when we are calculating the number of working days between two different dates. So I hope you like this video. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do. It's goodbye from me now and see you on the next video.